Hello, everyone. Welcome to our special later in the day, second koha-US Cataloging Special Interest Group meeting. And if I recall correctly, Aida had a 500 error saving records imported via Z3950.
Close. Z3950 records, which are imported, turned up when I searched for them. However, the one record I entered manually does not appear when I search for it, but when I enter its biblio number, it does. And it must be because I missed something. I didn't enter everything into all the fields I was supposed to. I think that might be the case because the other records imported without any errors. So it must be something on my part.
Yeah, I got your message with the attached records. By the time I was finished with ICU rounds and doing a search for ICU, etc., I figured you'd probably gone home. So I will take a look, but I haven't yet. That's strange. Also, getting the 080 to display is strange. I think I'm going to have to look at the OPAC template.
Whenever you get around to it.
Okay.
I'm pretty much sure that all of the setup and import is going to take me a few months, especially since our IT team has not yet exported all the records from the in-house system that we use. They have promised they would do that sometime in May, probably. So I'll have about 9,000 records to import into Koha. And I'd like to solve all of these issues before I actually get any data into it.
Yeah.
I just want to explain very quickly what's happening currently. I have two Koha installations. There's one on my work server and one on my old laptop. Both of them are Mark 21. I tried using a Unimark installation, but it kept fighting me for some reason. I could not get a proper Mark framework to work there. I only had the default one, and when I tried to create another one for books and workbooks, I didn't know enough about Mark to know which fields and subfields and tags I could remove. So that ended up in disaster. And now I only have the Mark 21 flavor installations.
One thing that I tend to do with my frameworks is I tend to never remove a field. I'll simply hide it or have it not display, but I leave it there in the framework.
The thing about that was when I copied the default framework and made a new one, it had all the fields that the default one had. But when I tried adding records, there were many fields that were required, but didn't apply to a book. So I had, for example, cartographic data. I had musical sheets. And if I left those blank, it wouldn't let me save anything.
Yeah, there's in the frameworks, there's you might have already found there's a checkbox to make the field required or not required, and then there's checkboxes for having it display in the OPAC and the staff client
and in the editor.
I'm
not I think that's the editor page that we all have spent so much time working on lovingly. I'm not
I
sure
did
what the other
find
two
that
mean.
eventually.
That's
But I
why.
thought, since this is both of them are test installations, they were mostly blank. I thought I might as well do this and see what happens, if it's going to be a mistake or not. So now I know I shouldn't touch it. And this installation that I have works mostly okay, with one difference between the two. The work server installation, when I go to the Koha about page, it ends with a 500 error. The one on this laptop does not. It gives me an overview of, let me just check exactly what it has. It tells me about the system, it tells me that all Perl dependencies are okay, basically appears, and it does not on my work server.
Is that the only? I'm trying to adjust the lights. Is that the only time you found there was a 500 error, or have you run across other times?
I think that's the only time. I haven't poked around much more. It might turn up in other place.
If you only get one error, one page with an error, that's probably the page you can do without most.
I was also thinking a bit about the problem with your manually keying in a record and then it not being retrievable. And that might have to do with indexing scripts running.
Oh yes, I think Fred also mentioned something about that. Elasticsearch. When I switch to Elasticsearch, and when I try searching for something in the catalog, I get a message saying that the search couldn't be completed. When I go back to Zebra, the records that I have on the work server show up.
And I think you're also getting funny messages when you run curl and look for the status.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in my case, I think it just sort of resolved itself after a while. Doesn't look like it's going to do that for you.
I would suggest a lot of these problems be taken to the system administration group. I think they're pretty much beyond us.
And see what they have to say about it.
Yes.
I did find a bug on the 500 error on the about page, which does seem sort of related to Elasticsearch versus Zebra. So that could all be tied together. I put that in the chat.
Thank you.
Interesting bug.
I'm sorry we're not a lot of help, Aida. Was there anything else?
Nothing that I can think of at the moment. I will probably need to practice, I guess, a bit when it comes to adding new records. And there's a few more books that that are locally published and that don't usually turn up in any of the Z3950 searches. So I'll see whether I will come up against the same problem. And if I do, I'll ask more questions.
Yeah,
And
and please reach out and feel free to maybe share this record that's not retrievable with some of us in the group, certainly at least me, or send it to our cataloging group, and we could do things like I could put the record in my catalog and see if it has the same problems.
sure.
Yeah, I'm going to
Yeah.
try that with, one of my catalogs.
I would be grateful. When it comes to sending you files, I don't know if it's possible to do that, to send anything to the Koha mailing list. So how would I go about sending something to you?
You can send it to me directly. I'll put my email address in the chat.
Or you could send it to me. I think
Sure.
we can send attachments to the list, right?
I think we can, but I haven't tried it recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
You can always
MedLib.
try it.
Yeah. MedLib can't or won't, which makes it kind of awkward sometimes. Whoops, forgot.
Okay, I've copied your mail, so I'll send it to you, and maybe between you, me, and Fred, we'll find out what the issue is.
Definitely.
That's also very useful because a lot of the times I get I read instructions online that say you need to rebuild your index, and I don't know the commands to do that since I've only started working with Linux at the beginning of this year. And then I have to search, how do I rebuild an index? So this is useful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for putting that in the chat, Jason. The commands for rebuilding indexes and manual
Okay.
documentation on indexing crons.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I need to save that too.
I
See, I know
haven't
how to
used-
rebuild Zebra and Elasticsearch, but the others, well. And then this is sort of cataloging. For Elasticsearch to work, you need to reset the indexes, or there's a reset everything on the Elasticsearch configuration page, and make a change, something about suppress, and there's going to be a new index call or field called suppress. Jason, that was the one you found.
In the that bug.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. Took you seconds to find. I hadn't stumbled across it yet. I might have, and then 5 minutes to do.
Searching Bugzilla is an art form.
Yes.
You were implementing Elastic in your non-authors catalog, if I remember correctly, Fred?
Not yet. I think just the author's catalog. Oh, I used to have a memory before the pestilence, but not now.
We're supported by Bywater, so when we implemented Elastic, we were supported, but there is this implementing Elastic page on the wiki. It has very helpful information, I think.
And let me see if I can find. Here we go. That's the one I used to set up Elasticsearch. And he said in 2021 that the highest number that or Koa would support was Elasticsearch 6.8. And I'm not sure if that's still the case, but there is, Laura and I were talking about this earlier. Elasticsearch has changed the terms of its license, and it's a real mess. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, does anybody else have anything they'd like to bring to the group?
I've had lots of problems lately, but nothing really cataloging related.
I've got 99 problems, but cataloging ain't one. Well, that's good. That's okay. Well, I guess perhaps we're going to have a very short meeting. I will go ahead and stop the recording. Thank you everyone for joining.